Hey, good morning, guys. Just wanted to make a video. I had a kind of a special request from somebody that's new to, I think they're actually new to hunting altogether, but at least new to saddle hunting. And we get this question kind of often. There's a lot of guys that are just getting into saddle hunting, or maybe they're exploring how we're using DRT to climb when hunting, but especially with using saddle hunting. And I've a couple of times I've gotten requests to find out what's all the gear that we have to be able to do what we're doing. So I'm going to give you basically like a pack dump and show you all the gear that I use, and everything that I have here, depending on the situation, where I'm hunting, the time I'm hunting, the area, it'll dictate what I'm going to carry with me. Right now I've kind of got everything covered in here, so a lot of times I wouldn't ordinarily have everything you see here in the pack under a certain set of circumstances, but I'll just give you kind of a breakdown of what I've got, and start with everything. So obviously you're always going to have your bow, right? So here's my bow here. I'm going to just make some room, get my bow off to the side and hang it up over here. So you're going to have your bow, and then you got your saddle. I'm running a Mantis saddle. For guys that want to walk in and stuff and really be kind of light and mobile, the Mantis saddle is really nice for that, because you put it on and you wear it, and it's almost like you're wearing nothing. Feels almost like you're wearing kind of like a fanny pack maybe, or something like that. When I have it on, but I can walk miles and I'm comfortably, and I'm basically wearing my tree stand in. Instead of carrying a metal tree stand like a climber or something like that in, I'm wearing my my saddle, my tree, what's keeping me in the tree with me here, along with my Predator platform. I'll get to that later. But what I have in my saddle here is, like I said, I got the Mantis saddle. And when you buy the saddle, there's a couple different configurations. You could just buy just the saddle alone, or you could buy the kit that comes with a lineman and your tether and everything. So I bought the kit, and I also purchased 2 sys haulers. And the sys haulers are basically nothing more than pouches that attach with a molly strap system to your saddle. And I like to use those because in one side I like to keep my lineman belt stored, and then in the other side I keep my tether stored. So I have in here, I've got a lineman, and what I like to do is I tie off the one side. It comes with a factory eye on the lineman rope, and I leave it tied in all the time on the one side. I also bought the Ropeman Ascender. It's a little bit nicer to use that on your lineman because it's really easily adjustable with one hand. So when you're climbing or hanging sticks or something like that, you can utilize this, and it makes it really easy. So it's a pretty good thing to use. I highly recommend it. And I leave a carabiner tied onto it. So I've got my lineman belt, my Ropeman Ascender, and my lineman belt stored in my one sys hauler on one side of my Mantis saddle. And then on the other side I keep my tether. So got basically your tether. It's just like, it's very similar to like what you would use on your on like some safety systems, like the harness safety system for when you're hunting out of your tree stand. If they're using a rope, it's basically got an eye in it so that you can girth hitch the tree, and then you'll have a prusik that comes with it, and then you're going to clip, if you were hunting out of a tree stand, you would clip your carabiner in through your prusik, adjust it where you want, and it basically sits behind you. But when you're in a tree saddle, everything's coming off of the front of you. So you're going to be tied into your bridge, and this is what's actually keeping you in the tree. You're going to have this girth hitched to the tree, and then you'll have your prusik that your carabiner will go into. You adjust it to where you want it, and basically once you get it into position and that's set up on your bridge, that's actually holding you in your tree. So I like to keep that stored in this other sys hauler. And then underneath that, I keep in there what's called a recliner. recliner is nothing more than, it's basically a strap. And when you're sitting in your saddle, you're going to have your bridge is going to come up. And you're going to have basically your carabiner in the center, and you're going to have the bridge that goes down to either side to your D-loops. And if you take your recliner, you can fasten your recliner with small little prusik cords on either side of your bridge and wrap this around under your arms and along your back. And this will sit like basically, you know, behind you like this, underneath your arms, and it'll hook into your bridge. And it can give you some back support. You can just adjust where you want it, and it'll give you some back support, because typically when you're in a tree stand, you're sitting on your platform, you'll have a seat, and then your back would go against the tree. When you're in a saddle, your tree is in front of you, so you're not going to have any back support unless you add it. So I picked up the recliner. I think they're like 30 bucks, and there's a second generation with the tethered mantis, from what I understand. I haven't checked it out, but I heard a couple of guys talking about it. They said it's a little nicer than the one that I have, so I'll have to look into that. But I highly recommend it, because if you're trying to sit all day, it'll give you some back support. It works out really well. The other thing I did with my, kind of a modification I did to my saddle, I just added something to it. I picked up on Amazon what's called a battle belt. And it was cheap. I think I spent maybe 15, 20 bucks or something on it. And it's not really doing anything functionally as far as keeping me in the tree. I basically just ran my saddle, I fastened it to it, and I find that this nice padding here makes it a little bit more comfortable when it's on my waist. And you know, for me, it works out really well. So I've been running it like that. So that's my saddle. I wear that in, I get out of my truck, I put that thing on over my hunting clothing, cinch it up, put my backpack on my back and my bow in my hand, and I walk in. And that's all I need. Depending on the situation, sometimes I'll use my climbing sticks in certain applications or in certain areas. If I'm going in the dark, a place that I've never been before, and we climb with the DRT method, but typically whenever we can, just because it's a little bit lighter to get in there. But sometimes you got to go to your sticks. If you got straight trees going into the dark, I can't throw a throw ball up in the tree in the dark. So in those cases, I would go to my climbing sticks. But typically everything else I have is in here. And one of the things I want to explain is that this year, for the first time ever, I got into self-filming my hunts. There's different ways to do it. I'm trying this year to do like a good job with it, try and get the best quality film I can get. So I picked up a nice camera arm, picked up a pretty decent quality camera and everything. But all that stuff adds weight, It's kind of, frankly, it's a big pain in the neck to carry all that stuff in there, set it up in the dark and everything. If you're just hunting, there's other ways that you can do it that are probably a little bit more efficient, and you're not worried about trying to get really good quality video. Maybe you take your GoPro or something like that, you can fasten it on your camera, on your hat, you can get a Tacticam. There's different ways to do it. But this is the way I'm doing it. It's the heavy way. But I'll give you a breakdown of what I've got here. So I'm going to basically give you my pack dump of everything I carry. I got my Predator platform that I strapped to the back. So that's that. Predator platform is, I never weighed it, but I'd have to say it's, I don't know, 3 to 5 pounds, something like that. It's really pretty light. You can see it's nice and sleek. In a lot of cases, if I wasn't carrying all this camera gear and everything, I could probably stick it in the pack, no problem. But a lot of times I got the Badlands Super Day pack. I'll strap it right to the outside, and it's really actually pretty easy to carry because it's so nice and light. It's a lot easier to carry than a big tree stand. I have a Summit climber, which I love to sit in, my Summit climber, but I've always found it's kind of a pain in the neck, when I'm going in, because I'll have like the cables and they'll get caught on things. I always found them like catching my heels, and then the metal just clinging off of saplings and everything on the way in. The Summit's always nice if you got the right tree. You get in there, it's very comfortable to sit in, and I still have it. I still use it every once in a while, but if I could go to this, it's a little bit easier if I'm going way back. So So I've got my Predator platform. The next thing here, which most guys probably wouldn't need to carry, is the camera arm. Also got my water. So I got my camera arm. That's the camera arm with the head. Put this in here, I'll get to that part later. Let's see, the next thing, might as well show it now. This here is a bag that I carry my throw line and throw ball when I'm climbing DRT and I need to get my throw line up into a tree. This is how I do it. Carry a 14-ounce throw ball and a 3mm throw line, 100 feet, and I just basically keep it in a bag for storage. I got that, and then I have this is my climbing line. My climbing line is basically, this is my climbing method right here. It's 75 feet of 11.4mm Predator climbing line, and I tie a carabiner onto it. I leave the carabiner on there all the time. And everything you see here, the rope, 75 feet of rope, my throw line, my 14-ounce throw ball is like 5 pounds, 2 ounces. So it's a pretty light system. It's quiet, and I can get up to 35 feet using this. So, you know, a lot of guys are using sticks. I still use sticks. You know, teach his own. And I use both. I mean, the situation will dictate the way I'm going to climb, depending on where I'm going, when I'm going, the type of trees, that sort of thing, whether I'm going in the dark. So it's just another thing that you can use. But this is, we like to use this as much as possible because it makes it real efficient and easy to get in. This is the base for my camera arm. This is the Muddy Outfitter camera arm. It's a little bit bulky, not the lightest thing in the world, but it's real solid. Once your camera's in there, it kind of does a pretty good job. I'm going to explore it. Like I said, I'm new to filming. It's my first year filming, so I might explore. You know, I see a couple of different arms that are out there that might work a little bit better for me. Trying to go in real light. I'll have to look into that, see what happens. Next thing in my pack here, I have my actual camera bag. In my camera bag, I've got the camera, my microphone, everything inside there. This is my strap for my camera arm. It's basically like a ratchet strap that wraps around the tree to fasten down the base. Next thing I have here, I'm also carrying my Ozonics. This is the HR300. So I got the Ozonics unit and the mount that mounts it into the tree. Now a lot of this stuff is stuff that a lot of guys won't need to carry. You know, most guys don't need to carry a camera and all this equipment and, you know, an Ozonics unit. You don't need an Ozonics unit. It's just it's kind of nice to have one. I'm trying it out for the first time this year. So far I've had some pretty good luck with it. What else do I have here? I got a headlamp. I love using the headlamp because when I'm climbing or anything I'm doing, I can do it hands-free and have the light wherever I look. And this is one made by Coast. It comes with a red light. I use the red light in the dark. And I prefer the red light over the white light. I've read some studies that I think deer can still see the red light, but it's not as harsh. They can see white light a lot better. And if I understand it correctly, they can't see red light as well. So it helps you to be a little bit more discreet and sneaky when you're getting in there, trying to sneak into your hunting spot in the dark. So I like to go with the red light. It works out pretty well for me. Also in my pack, I got a little GoPro that I've been using this year for the first time to kind of get a different camera angle. I'll keep the GoPro just looking at me in the tree at the hunter, and then my camera to try to film the deer. And then what else I have in here? I've got the mount for my GoPro, and then in this pocket I've got a bunch of like bow holders, screw-in bow holders, and my hardware for hanging up my GoPro. That's what I got in that pouch. And then over here, in this other pouch, I've got, carry a set of binoculars, a small little Nikon binoculars compact set. They're like 8 power, work really nice. I got another small flashlight, also with the red light on it as well. That's also a Coast, so you can get in like Home Depot. And then also my rangefinder. So that's about it. The only thing, you know what I noticed I didn't have in here, I also carry, I mean, if I'm climbing DRT, I don't need a bow rope. My DRT rope serves as my bow rope. But I also have a Doyle's, I left it in my truck. It's a Doyle's retractable bow rope, and sometimes it'll clip right onto my saddle, and that works pretty well also. So sometimes if you need, I hate using like, I was always using paracord, but it gets tangled and everything in your pack and everything. So this year, for the first year, I started trying the Doyle's. It worked out pretty well. It's a little bit, it's kind of a round unit. It's a little bit bulky, but I don't know. It's nice. I like that it retracts and everything. So I'm more concerned about not dealing with the tangling up of my bow rope than I am about it being a little bit bulky. And once it's on my saddle and clipped on there, actually you don't even feel it. It's kind of like you don't even realize it's there until you need it. So it works out pretty well. So I'm happy with that. And let's see, what else do I have in my pack? I also always carry a cut saw if I got to trim a couple shooting lanes. Got my glasses because I'm 52 years old and starting to go blind, so got my glasses so I can see what's coming. My grunt call, and then I carry some. This is just an an old electrical tape container full of milkweed. I was usually carrying my milkweed in a little, those little rubber pouch. It's like a coin pouch, and people keep the coins in them and they just pop them in their front pocket. And I don't know what I did with mine. I had it clipped on my backpack, and I think it got hung up on a branch or something when I was walking through the woods, and I lost it. So I got to get another one because those work really well. But that's about it. That's everything I carry in my pack. It's probably, a lot of this stuff is stuff that most guys don't need to carry. So I mean, if you eliminated like the camera gear, and stuff, and you just looked at my climbing method and everything, it's actually a really light setup. So that's it. I hope that answers some questions about what we're carrying and all the gear that you need for saddle hunting. You need to have a way. With saddle hunting, it's really not too much to it. Your saddle basically is going to take the place of your tree stand. You need a way to get up in the tree. So depending on your situation, where you're at, you could, maybe you got trees that have limbs that you can climb up. You don't need anything. That's always great, or if you're on private land, you can use screw-in tree steps. And I got to tell you, that's one of my favorite things to do if I'm on private land and it's a place that I'm locked into. I'll stick my screw-in steps into the tree and they're there, and I don't have to mess around with sticks or DRT or anything. I can sneak in there in the dark, right on up the tree and tether in, and I'm hunting, And I prefer that wherever I can, but I can't do that all the time. Sometimes if I'm hunting on public land or in a place where I can't use screw-in steps, I got to use another method. So I might use my climbing sticks, or we started getting into the DRT when we're going way back. If you're going way back someplace on public land and you can't do all that stuff, you can't damage trees and everything, DRT is really, really kind of cool for that. And as you can see here, this is everything fits in the pack. You can get 30 feet up with that, and it's pretty light. So that's about it. If you guys have any other questions about any of the gear we're using or the things that you need for saddle hunting, there's really just put them in the comments section. I can try to answer them. One thing I just wanted to touch on was the Predator platform. This thing, it's really This thing is really great because they're so darn light. You don't always need a predator platform depending on the tree that you're in. If you're in maybe a big tree that's got a lot of big lateral limbs, we have one of our videos there. We've got the mock saddle hunt. In that tree, we don't even use this, you know, because it's got some big lateral limbs, and you can just tie in and use one of the limbs as a platform. But this thing's really good. We compared it to some of the other methods that are out there, and I think I kind of like the Predator more. It's a little bit more sleek. It's a little easier to lock in once you open it up and lock in. It kind of locks in tight all the time. It's good for side pressure and everything. Working out really well for us. So, but you know, all this stuff gets kind of expensive, and I understand that. For a lot of guys that are new, you know, I've been hunting for 40 years. I'm 52 years old, and I struggle, you know, I work. I do some side work to try to make extra money to be able